How's it going, guys, and thanks for visiting my channel again. Today I'm reviewing some V-mount batteries. I just got this from D&O Lighting. This is one of the biggest batteries that they make here, and this video is going to be actually very useful for both people looking for buying these V-mount batteries for the first time, or also some of you guys that have a ton of these batteries. So this video is going to be everything about V-mount batteries, and especially the maintenance and everything you want to know about this battery, so don't go anywhere. You guys clicked on this video here to watch things about V-mount batteries, right? So what is the most important thing that really matters when you're actually watching somebody reviewing these batteries, or when you're actually buying these batteries here? First of all, how long would that take to wait to charge these batteries in full? And number two, most important, how long can this battery keep your light on? So in this video I actually covered everything, and also how to not destroy your batteries, how to operate this battery safely. So this video and every other video that I review here is always a combination with a tutorial slash workshop. It's not only a review. So every time I say something here, I try my best to provide the best YouTube experience as far as reviewing channels go, and I really hope you appreciate the content that I make here. And a quick disclaimer here, this video is not sponsored by D&O Lighting. I don't get paid to say anything here like any other product that I review on this channel here. And my opinions about these products are unchanged regardless if they send me these items to try it out, even though I get to keep these items. And they don't get to see a preview of these videos. So all I do here is finish my review, upload the video on YouTube, and that's it. V-mount batteries, they're not cheap. Some of them they get sent to me, or the ones that I purchased with my own money. But regardless of that, I like to have the biggest V-mount batteries that I can actually afford, because they all output the same 16.5 volts, even if you choose a 95 watt hour battery, or if you choose a massive 200 watt battery here. And again, it depends what kind of device you're gonna power this with. So the two things to pay attention to: the watt hours, which is the actual capacity of the battery, how long the battery is gonna be running into a given device here, and also the amperage, which is the actual current of these batteries. This is when they vary in size. So the watt hour you're going to be seeing sometimes labeled as WH, and the amperage as AH. This one here is the biggest one that they make so far, and this is a 190 watt battery and 14.8 volts. Actually, as you can see here on the front label here, when you're buying these V-mount batteries, the labels are very clear. The numbers and letters, they're big, so every time you're looking for a battery in your case or buying something, it's right here. Now, not every time the actual amps is usually printed on a label here anywhere, but you'll find out how many amps a given battery has. I'm talking about any battery, including your Sony little batteries or a phone battery. You simply divide, for example, this one here is a 190 watt hour divided by 14.8. It should give you a 12.8 amp battery, but again, if you want to keep it at 10, it's always good to have a couple amps below, so you don't max out the stress on the battery. But this battery here is actually capable of drawing 12.8 amps if you want to. Now, I actually have a very cool application for you guys to download. This is called the Watts Amp Volts. It's all together at the Apple Store. Probably at the Google Store is the same exact thing, but launching the app here. For example, again, this battery is 190 watt hour, and the volts is 14.8. Calculate 12.838. So 12.8 amps is exactly what I showed you on the calculator, so it does the work for you here. Make sure you gotta clear all these boxes here. Now here's the interesting thing, because when you actually operate these batteries via DC, it's almost like the same amperage as a vacuum cleaner, which is crazy, right? Now when you run these lights here at 110 volts out of your mains outlet, the amperage is gonna be a lot less. So for example, this panel here is a 200 watt panel, right? Cranked up to 100% or close to 200 watts. So the wattage is 200 watts, and then the volts is like 120 volts, your home outlets in the United States, right? Calculate, this actually is gonna draw 1.66 amps. That's pretty much it. Now, if you change the game here and do a 14.8 volts, so calculate it again, now it's actually drawing 13.5. Now again, clearing the box here, if you are in the UK, which is a 240 volts, so the same 200 watts here, with the 240 volts, it's gonna draw as little as 0.8 amps. How interesting is that, right? So every time you're running DC, and by the way, AC stands for alternate current, and DC stands for direct current. So make sure you download this app, because if you want to know how many amps whatever battery that you try to buy provides, this is going to be very handy for you. Now with that said, whatever light or whatever device you want to power, make sure your battery has the actual amperage capacity and whatever that is that's going to power those lights correctly. Because if you buy a battery that does not provide the enough amps for a given light, the light won't even bother to power on. So make sure you go to the manufacturer's website, whatever, you know, Aperture, the 120D Mark II or whatever. Make sure you see the specifications there. Now you know what battery to buy to correspond to whatever current draw that these lights require. If you want to power one of those little GVM LED panels there, the amperage is actually very low, but again, don't forget that DC requires a lot higher amperage than running on the AC outlet. So the time lapse that I made, I actually chose this particular panel here, which is the perfect light for this experiment here. This is a 200 watt panel, and this requires 2 V-mount batteries to power it on. And rounding a 190 watt battery to 200 is technically almost a 400 watt powerhouse. So to exhaust these batteries here, the results are pretty impressive. V-mount batteries, they're not cheap, but the main reason why they cost so much money is because of the ability to deal with high current draw. For example, when you power like a big panel. If you try to do the same thing with the Sony MPF 970 batteries, combining a bunch of them together, first of all, don't forget that those batteries, they're designed to be drawn power from a camcorder, which is like, 8 volts or something like that. So it actually does the trick a little bit, but as soon as you use the battery and keep using the battery, those little Sony batteries, they're gonna overheat, and this is not a problem with these guys over here. They can actually keep going and going and going. So if this is your first time looking at the V-mount battery here, you probably know, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So why is it called V-mount batteries? Because of this little V-shaped thing when you actually dock the battery on a charger or on your light or whatever device they're using. And all these batteries here, they usually will come with the actual main source of connection here, which is right here on the bottom. And also they feature a D-tap, which you can actually power several devices. And even better, all over Amazon, eBay, or B&H, they actually make plates that you can actually dock the battery on the actual plate, and then you can actually use a single battery to power everything on your rig, from monitor to the camera itself and USB devices, because this battery here supplies about 16.5 volts, which obviously gonna fry your camcorder if you try something like this, right? So we actually use that plate, which has several outputs on the side here, 5 volts, 8 volts, 7.6 volts. So these batteries are extremely useful. Instead of actually having a battery to power your monitor, another battery that charges the camera and everything, so one battery can go dead, and then it creates a whole problem with your productions here. So having a single battery to power your entire rig is extremely convenient. Another thing to keep in mind about lithium-ion batteries, or most of the batteries, because as you probably know, the voltage actually drops when the battery actually gets depleted. For example, if the battery is 100% here, this is going to read about 16.5 volts, and 50% is going to read about 14-ish volts. And when the battery is nearly close to depletion here, to total discharge, this is going to be actually below even 12 volts. So what I don't recommend you to use is, don't wait until the battery completely dies, especially on a high current panel, because this is never a good thing for the battery itself. You're always going to damage the cells. Another thing that I want to mention here, this is so crucially important, because it's not only plugging in a battery and set and forget about it. So even the nickel metal hydride, the little inner loop batteries that you guys fire or speed light flash, every time that you let those batteries, this battery, this one, and that one, die, you're actually making the battery life shorter and also hurting the cells of the battery. So every single battery, such as V-mount batteries here, they come with this built-in little gauge here, which tells you, the fifth bar, this particular case here, is at 100%, 80%, 40%, 20%, or whatever. Keep in mind, this is not really accurate. This is just to give an idea where you are as far as power. So when you are at 1 bar here, I highly recommend that you actually stop operation of the light or whatever device you're powering with, and actually change the battery and put it on the side before you start charging. So it needs a little cooling before you actually get this out of the light panel, and then put it on a charger here. This is another thing that it is not recommended to do. Let it cool down here a little bit, and then you put a fresh V-mount battery back to the light and go back to your interview set or whatever it is that you're doing. Every time that you let a battery die in whatever device you're using, either your phone or a camera or a light panel, you actually killing the cells of the battery and also shortening the lifetime of this particular batteries here. This one here is rated for about 500 charges. But as soon as it goes dead, I don't know, maybe you killed probably another 35, 45 opportunities to charge the battery, because try not to do this with the battery. So every time you have a chance, just to swap the battery, pay attention on the gauge here. Don't let the whole thing die completely, because at least don't do this with these guys here, because they deserve a little TLC. So don't let the battery die on a light. As you charge or discharge these batteries here, you also notice that the voltage of the battery also drops. For example, if you're using a DSLR, nothing happens until suddenly you have the little red, little low battery icon. You have probably 20 seconds to take that battery out of there before you lose your footage, right? And this is actually reaching the point that the battery is saying, I mean, why did you do that to me, right? But when you're using high-end cameras such as the Red or the Arri Alexa, they have a built-in alarm feature in there, because those cameras, they will definitely shut down below 13 volts. So it is a very good idea to program your Arri or your Red camera to let you know when the battery is actually running about as low as 13.5 volts, and then you just stop the camera, shut it off, and then swap batteries. This way you don't hurt the battery, and you don't have the risk of actually having corrupted footage on your camera since the camera died, right? I know they have the opportunity to save the file very quickly, but sometimes it might not be the case. So one thing I know, that every single camcorder, cheap one or high-end ones, they also have the little gauge there. Again, that's not really accurate, but once you have, like, 2 bars remaining, this is when it's time to pay attention. So when you wear 1 bar, immediately stop and take it off. Don't let the red low battery appear, because that's actually when the battery is saying, dude, just stop using me, right? Every single V-mount battery that you buy, of course, you're gonna find the main terminals here, and also always a D-tap jack here. And some V-mount batteries, they also include a USB to charge your phone or whatever USB device that you have. This one here doesn't have a USB. I'm not sure if you guys know or don't know, but an actual D-tap port here, did you know you only provides a maximum of 50 watts, regardless what the battery is saying here, 190 watt hour or whatever voltage or amps. 50 watts is the maximum limitation on D-tap jack. Also, the Generate Twin Sunlight that I use here, I actually went to the B&H website and checked the specifications before I actually plugged these batteries on the back of the light. So you should do the same exact thing before you ordering the right V-mount size batteries for you. But again, if you have the money to buy the biggest batteries, I highly recommend, unless you actually power this thing on your rig, because these things, they're heavy. This is why they make the 95 watt hour battery. And again, they also provide the same exact voltage. The only thing that changes here is the weight and the watt hour, so which makes this very comfortable if you put a 95 watt battery in your rig, which is a lot lighter than this battery. But if this weight doesn't bother you, sure, go ahead and install this on your back of your rig, but don't complain at the end of the day that your camera is heavier, right? Now, to power your light panels, 2x1 panels and similar things, you definitely want to choose the biggest battery they can actually have. This one here is the 190 watt battery, so I'll definitely go with this, so you don't have to change the battery very often. Alright, so when you actually order your V-mount batteries, don't forget that these batteries, they need the proper charger to charge them, right? So there are 2 ways to charge these batteries, via the D-tap or also the bottom terminal here, which is my favorite way to charge these batteries. For like a $45, $50 option, they make this D-tap that you can actually plug it on the wall. But the problem that I found with this D-tap devices here is because they get so hot, especially when the battery is like fully discharged. And I don't feel comfortable going upstairs and leave this thing charged here, because I don't know what's gonna happen. I highly recommend that you get a real charger like this here, because even if the batteries, they are completely depleted, when you actually charge these batteries here, you touch the thing here, they're not even close to even warm. Whether you live in the UK with the 240 volts or in US 110 volts, the BC2S charger is going to take care of both voltages. Now you know you can actually charge via the D-tap and also the bottom terminal here, but if I may highly suggest to you, I mean, either way is fine, they're both legal to charge the V-mount battery. But I don't like what's in the little circuitry inside these little things. Again, they get super hot. I would highly advise you that you actually spend just a little bit more money on the actual reliable charger, because once you charge these batteries here, you can just set and forget it. So on the back of this unit here, you're gonna see the on and off switch and also the AC jack here. So you simply plug the regular mains here and you're good to go. In the front of the charger here, you're gonna see the AC power. So when you turn on the unit, it also comes with a fan to keep the circuitry cool. So this lights up red. Also the charging state, the battery connection, and also the discharge state. And at the bottom of the charger here has some nice rubber feet for those slippery surfaces such as formica or glass or whatever, and then a little leg here so you can actually open. So when you actually put these batteries together here, especially if it is one at a time, it's not going to tip over, because if you don't have the legs this way, it's going to tip over a little bit like that. So just make sure you have a little leg set up here, good to go. Now when you actually install the 2 V-mount batteries here, you don't necessarily need the legs. So actually close them, this is not going anywhere. But when I actually open the legs here, it ensures more stability of the charger here, as you can see. Now when you actually plug your AC cable here and you install the two batteries here, you're gonna see the two blue LEDs are gonna come online here. And actually when you turn on the charger, that's the charging status here, that's gonna light up in red. And there's a little fan built in here which keeps the internal components cool. Even though every V-mount plate, they should come with a latch, which they do of course, it's never really recommended that you actually walk around with the thing while it's charging, flipping it over like this. Just leave the thing alone, do its thing, and then you actually eject the batteries and everything. When you're actually using the DC jack here, same thing, just put it on the floor, leave the thing alone, avoid disturbing the battery so no accidents can happen. Somebody can easily press this button here, the 1 V-mount battery to come off, so leave the thing alone and let it do its thing, right? When you're charging a single battery here, the charging rate is going to be about 3 amps, which also makes the charging slightly faster. And as soon as you put a second battery here, of course you're making the load heavier, and this charger is going to change the charging rate to 2 amps. Lithium-ion batteries can be pretty temperamental, especially how you charge the battery and how you're using the battery. For example, when you charge the battery, the operational temperature that they like is between 0 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius, or 32-ish degrees Fahrenheit to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. And the humidity level, keep it under 65-70%. So the time they will take to deplete the batteries or to charge the batteries, again, the humidity and temperature is a big factor in how these batteries perform, either charging or discharging. Now, to store a lithium-ion battery, whether it is a short-term or long-term storage on the shelf there, they like to be charged at a rate of 50%, but it doesn't mean that you actually put it on the shelf for a year and then you forget about the battery. So occasionally you have to grab the battery, kind of check the gauge here to see if it is indeed 50%. To store these batteries here, believe it or not, the ideal temperature is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Kind of cold, but this is how they like it. They don't like humid places, so you store this in a dark place, as dry as possible and as cool as possible. You're gonna find the B&H one of those little refrigerator looking things that you can actually also maintain your camera lenses inside, so for climate control, so fungus don't develop in the lens or whatnot. You can actually buy the same thing. I mean, this is an extreme, especially if you have a bunch of these batteries here, because 10 of these batteries here is going to cost for $2,000, right? So it's worth to get a little finicky with your batteries and actually even provide this kind of climate. If you store this in a wet basement, that's not good for the battery, stuff like that. And of course, we all should during the winter or summertime, but if you can, try to not operate these batteries in extreme temperature. Try to keep in between the temperatures that I told you. Maybe 50 degrees to 75 degrees. That's probably the most comfortable temperature to operate these batteries here. That's also going to ensure a high longevity on operation of these batteries here for a long time. And finally here, regarding the terminals or the batteries and the actual chargers here, as you can see, they always come with a little something that protects the terminal, but try to avoid at all costs to actually touch this with your hands, because grease here or dirty hands is never a good thing for connections, which also encourages rusting to occur, maybe, especially in high humidity places. And on the battery itself, as you can see, the terminals, they are kind of hidden here, but what you don't want to do is to transport or store these batteries, or especially travel with these batteries with the terminals open here. I wish somebody invented a silicone or plastic or whatever thing that you can actually insert here. That would be awesome to have. My friend has a 3D printer. I don't know if he's gonna be able to do something like this, because I was gonna send this to maybe a manufacturer to see if they're interested in making this, because I think that's gonna sell a lot. A V-mount battery terminal protector, right? Who wouldn't want that? Especially when you guys actually travel with these batteries here. I don't think there's a V-mount battery or a charger that comes with a nice little bag there. I've never seen that before. They usually come with the original manufacturer packaging, separate with the foam and everything, but nobody's going to be using the boxes to transport the stuff away, right? So I actually have a perfect solution for you here, because this stuff takes hours on Amazon to shop, especially measuring everything. I actually bought a very cheap bag, less than $35, and this actually fits these two batteries and this charges like a glove. That bag is inexpensive and is absolutely perfect. It has a separate slot for your AC and DC cables there. The charger itself isolated from the batteries, and also you can also put both batteries also isolated from each other. When you close that case, nothing is moving, nothing is going anywhere. And that bag will also ensure that none of your V-mount terminals here is going to touch anything else, because they're going to be very well safely protected in there. Because if you throw this on a bag here, anything can be a key or anything, especially those little iron sponge they wash dishes, right? Did you ever try to actually rub lightly? The thing automatically, instantly ignites. to like fire, right? So V-mount batteries, because of their high current capacity and everything, never play with these batteries here, or never be lousy and throw this stuff in the bag. Never let anything contact here, because you only want to use this to the intended use, which is this type of terminals here, or the D-tap, nothing else. If you forgot your D-tap at home, your cable at home, don't try to solder anything here. Don't try to do a paper clip as a temporary fix, because the last thing you know, when you turn the head this way here, the wires getting together and a big fire is gonna occur, especially something like this here. This is a lithium polymer battery, which is a ridiculous 900 watt hour battery, and this costs in excess of $400 on sale, because this is usually supposed to be $1,000 battery. So you don't want to play with this battery either. You want to respect what the unit is. You just plug always the appropriate cables here. Never try to do a little pins here to temporarily fix or take care of something that you need in production. Never do this. Just always utilize the right cables, and don't try to do anything fancy with these batteries other than what's not intended for. Regarding the DC jack here, if you are charging your batteries and decide to plug in the 4-pin XLP cable at the same time to supply power to an external device, the charging stops, because this is a safety procedure that most lithium batteries have and require, because it's never a good idea to charge a battery while drawing power at the same time, especially high currents such as this guy's here. The amount of stress is huge. Even most phone power banks won't let you do it, such as this one here, for example. As soon as I try to plug in the USB Type-C to charge this power bank at the same time supplying power, my camera power got cut off. As soon as I unplugged the thing, the camera power resumed. So even a little power bank like this won't let you do this. Imagine something of this magnitude here, right? This light here, the Godox TL60, most of these batteries here, they will allow charging while using the light. Everybody asked me on the comment section, hey, can I charge this at the same time I use the light? You sure can, but make sure you charge the battery at least to 100%, so the stress is not going to be applied so much on the battery. So imagine this, right? Let me guess. Somebody's going to try to use this on a set, and this light comes with a very powerful 20-volt charger, and you're probably going to use this light probably at 100% on set. And then imagine the stress on this battery here. So the light is at 100% right now. So you're actually cranking up the light to 100% and also charging the battery. The battery is trying to get charged while this thing is cranked up to 100%. What do you think is going to happen to the battery? It's going to overheat, and it's also going to hurt the cells, right? So the idea is to charge the battery first at 100%. And then you try not to run this light at 100% while you have the actual thing plugged in as a charger here. So when you unplug the charger, yes, by all means go to 100%, but just don't try to do this while the light is being charged, because it's never a good idea for the batteries. Same thing with these lights here. You plug it in as a charger and using the light at the same time, especially at 100% or anything high percentage. And you notice this light's gonna get so hot. What you're doing to the battery here is trying to deplete at a very high rate, at the same time trying to get charged at a very high rate as well, with the USB Type-C powerful chargers and all. So don't do this. So let's say you have a shoot in Las Vegas, you are all the way in New York here, so you can travel with this V-mount batteries, but flying on a commercial airplane with these batteries here, such as the 200 watt battery, you cannot travel not even with a single one of these batteries here. However, you can actually travel with a 98 watt battery, anything below 100 watts, which is actually the maximum current permitted by the TSA. Despite all the caution, traveling with a V-mount battery is perfectly safe by following a few simple guidelines, and also preparing your batteries beforehand for an airplane travel, so you won't have any problems with the TSA or airport security. So you can actually power all your lights, big lights that you need when you arrive in your Las Vegas trip with your production without a problem. So batteries rated at anything less than 100 watt hour is not an issue with the TSA or airlines. You can transport them as carry-on luggage or put them on your pockets even. So let's say, if you check in your bags, the batteries are in a cargo area, which is at the bottom of the airplane, and there isn't anyone there to see or contain the problem immediately. So however, if a fire starts in the cabin, then people or the airline staff will be able to react very quickly and to put out the fire before it can do any damage. They won't let you do a 200 watt hour battery, but if you got 10 of a 100 watt hour battery, check this out. You can actually carry as many spare lithium-ion batteries as you want, within reason, of course, because they are heavy when transported in quantities, you know. Plus, you gotta make sense, you know. 25 batteries here, they're gonna be, what's wrong with this guy, right? So again, every time you're traveling with these batteries, the back of the truck, or especially on a commercial airline, just the fact that it took like those 2 seconds that takes to put a little gaffer tape here when you actually show the TSA your bags, you know, or bag check or whatever. They're checking your first bag here. They're not gonna even check your second or third bag because they already know you guys are already doing the right thing here, which also makes the TSA happy. It's gonna make your flight a lot more pleasant and a lot quicker to board, you know. So it's always a good idea to know the latest regulations there when it's about traveling on a commercial airplane, because, you know, we're not regular people. With the filmmakers, we don't carry little iPod, little batteries. We carry V-mount batteries and stuff, right? So 2 things are gonna happen when you're on an airplane if you are actually not respecting their rules. So imagine how much this battery costs, right? TSA is not letting you board the airplane with this here. 2 things are gonna happen. Either you do not board the plane and take the battery with you and your luggage back home, or you board the airplane and say goodbye to this battery because the TSA guy got a brand new battery for his kids who is gonna be filmmakers one day. So you make the choice. Regardless what the manual says, how long it will take or whatever, I actually made a time lapse here with these 2 batteries completely depleted, even though I don't like doing this to the battery, but I did this for the sake of the review of this video. So the time lapse also show you guys how long it will take to charge the batteries with the same exact scenario that you guys see here. On the time lapse, I actually forgot to tell my iPad to not go to sleep because, you know, this is a very long time lapse and then something went wrong. So the actual time lapse is about 5 or 5.5 hours or something like that. But I also took another hour running already charging this battery. So you just add another hour there. So it should be about 6.5 hours to take to charge 2 190 watt batteries with this particular charger here. If there is something I forgot to say or mention regarding V-mount batteries, or if you have any other questions other than the stuff that was not covered with this video here, and hopefully you guys watched the whole thing, please let me know in the comment section here, and I'll make sure to reply to everything that I see here. And this is one of the things that people love about my channel, because I don't let my viewers in the dark. A lot of other channels, there's no reply. You just ask a question, there's no reply, right? Not this channel here. You ask a question, you get replied. And that's the end of my review. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to this channel and make sure you have the notification bell on for more content like this. And once again, thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you next time.